After you hit your 50s, you, like many people, may have begun to wonder, what does it really mean to have enough? In a world constantly telling us to chase more, people in their 50s, 60s, and 70s are beginning to pause and ask a powerful question. Is all this really making us happy? We're told to chase more success, more things, more achievements. But many of us are starting to question this approach. Let's explore the hidden cost of always wanting more. Let's discover the unexpected joy that comes from redefining what truly matters. Through stories, reflection, and research, we uncover why the pursuit of enough might just be the key to a simple and more meaningful life. Have you ever had one of those moments where you look around your life and think, I should be happy, but I'm not? Maybe you've achieved things you thought you wanted. You climbed that corporate ladder. You bought the house you dreamed of. You put the kids through college. You built up retirement savings. But somehow it still doesn't feel like enough. As we grow older, many of us are starting to question whether the answer to happiness really is more. More stuff, more success, more activities packed into our already busy lives. What if the secret to contentment isn't having more? What if it's knowing what enough means for you? Perhaps our parents and grandparents understood something we've forgotten. Satisfaction often comes from appreciating what we already have. This shift in thinking can transform how we live. It can bring real peace to our daily lives. Today, we'll explore this question together. We'll look at how defining your own version of enough can bring more peace, clarity, and genuine contentment to your daily life than you might imagine. Let's be honest about the world we live in. From the moment we wake up, we're surrounded by messages telling us we need more. For those of us over 50, striking how much noisier and more demanding these messages have become compared to earlier decades. The latest gadget will make us more efficient. A bigger home will make us happier. A busier schedule means we're more successful. But research shows something interesting. The more people chase after these things, the further they often get from actual happiness. They reach one goal. Maybe that promotion they worked decades to achieve. They buy one thing, perhaps the luxury car they always wanted. They check off one more item from their to-do list. And instead of feeling satisfied, they immediately start thinking about the next thing they need. Does this sound familiar? It's like being on a treadmill that just keeps speeding up. No matter how fast you run, you never actually get anywhere. The turning point comes when we realize something important. The idea of enough is deeply personal. At this stage of life, we have the wisdom to understand that what feels like enough for one person might feel overwhelming to another. Or it might feel like not nearly enough. And that's okay. Think about it. Your neighbor might find joy in hosting elaborate dinner parties every weekend. For you, that might sound exhausting. You'd rather have one close friend over for a quiet cup of coffee. You might share stories about your grandchildren and reflect on old times. Neither approach is wrong. They're just different definitions of enough. The problem isn't that we want things or have goals. This becomes a problem if we've never really taken time to figure out what we actually want versus what we think we should want. For people our age, this becomes especially important. We've been so busy following other people's definitions of success and happiness for so many decades that we've lost touch with our own. When most people hear about simple living, they imagine giving up everything they enjoy, living like a monk, eating only plain food, never having fun. But that's not what this is about at all. Simple living doesn't mean giving up joy. It means being more intentional about what brings you joy. You might still travel to places that excite you. Maybe those destinations you've been putting off for years. You might invite friends over for meals you love cooking. You could share recipes that have been in your family for generations. You might pursue hobbies that make you feel alive. Perhaps you'll return to interests you set aside when career and family demanded everything. The difference is that these choices align with what you truly value. They're not based on what you think you should value. For example, you might decide to have fewer clothes in your closet, but the ones you keep are pieces you absolutely love wearing. Or you might say no to some social events. This gives you energy for the ones that really matter to you. This isn't about deprivation, it's about clarity. This is the kind of clarity that often comes with age and experience. Here's where things get really interesting. When people start living more intentionally, everything changes. Instead of automatically saying yes to every opportunity, invitation, or purchase, they start asking themselves two simple questions. Does this serve my goals? These are goals that may have evolved significantly since your 40s. Does this align with my values? These are values shaped by decades of life experience. These questions become like a filter for life. Suddenly, decisions that used to cause stress become much clearer. You're not being mean or selfish when you say no to things that don't fit. You're being honest and purposeful. These are qualities that come more naturally as we mature. The why behind your choices becomes more important than the what. When you understand why you're making certain decisions, you feel more confident and peaceful about them. As we grow older, we stop second-guessing ourselves so much. We've learned what works and what doesn't. One of the most amazing things that happens when people embrace this way of thinking is that they start reclaiming their space. Not just physical space, although that's part of it. This might mean finally addressing those boxes from your children's school years. It could mean dealing with career mementos you've been storing. When you let go of belongings that don't add value, you gain clarity. That exercise equipment gathering dust can go. That china set you never use can find a new home. But we're also talking about mental space. When you let go of commitments that drain you, you create room for what matters. Perhaps you'll release volunteer work you took on out of obligation rather than passion. You can even release thoughts that don't serve you. Old resentments can be released. Worries about what others might think can be set aside. Guilt about past decisions can be forgiven. You create room for what actually matters. In retirement, you might find yourself with more time for hobbies you love. You might rediscover interests you abandoned when life got busy. You'll have more energy for people you care about, like your spouse, your adult children, grandchildren, and longtime friends who've been with you through the decades. You'll have more mental space for creativity and peace. It's like cleaning out a closet that's been accumulating items for decades. At first, it might feel scary to let things go. This is especially true for items with sentimental value or things you paid good money for years ago. But once you do, you realize how much easier it is to find what you need and how much more you appreciate what you kept. Here's something important to remember. You are the expert on your own life. At this stage, you've lived long enough to understand what works for you and what doesn't. You've weathered economic changes, you've raised families, you've built careers or chosen different paths entirely. You don't need anyone's permission to live in a way that feels right for you. You don't need to justify your choices to people who don't understand them. It might be adult children who worry you're giving up. It could be peers who think you should keep doing what you've always done. You have wisdom inside you about what makes you feel content, energized, and peaceful. Trust that wisdom. It's been developing throughout every year of your life. It's grown through every experience, every challenge you've overcome. For those of us over 50, this wisdom is one of our greatest assets. Sometimes we just need to get quiet enough to hear it. So where do you start? The beautiful thing is that you don't need a perfect plan or total clarity to begin. You've learned by now that life rarely goes according to plan anyway. Small steps create momentum and confidence. This week, consider choosing just one area to simplify. Maybe it's one drawer in your kitchen. Perhaps that junk drawer that's been accumulating odds and ends for 20 years. Maybe it's one commitment on your calendar that no longer serves you. Or simply spend 10 minutes thinking about what enough means to you at this stage of your life. Ask yourself these questions. What do I need emotionally, physically, and socially to feel at peace? These needs may be quite different from what they were in your 30s or 40s. What am I holding on to that I no longer need? This might be physical possessions. It could be old grudges. It might be outdated expectations of yourself. Don't worry about getting the perfect answers. Just start the conversation with yourself. Remember, this isn't about living less. It's about living more deeply. As we grow older, we have the opportunity to live with greater intention and authenticity than ever before. When you define what enough means for you, you free up your energy, time, and attention for the things that matter most. And that's where real joy lives. It's the kind of deep satisfaction that comes from living authentically, according to your own values and priorities. It's for people in their 50s, 60s, and 70s preparing for or well into retirement. This may be one of life's greatest gifts. There is nothing sweeter than the freedom to finally live on your own terms. Your version of enough is waiting for you to discover it. Why not start today? Now that you've discovered how to simply live your life, let's look at how your daily habits can strengthen or weaken your relationships. Watch the next video to learn 12 common habits to avoid so you can keep your connections strong.